All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, we have to understand that they get their power from brutalizing us. And as long as we allow them to do it, they're going to keep doing it. There are far too many that think that their one thing they have in this world is having power over us. But they don't have power over us. We have power over ourselves. The minute that we want it to end, really want it to end, it will end. Too many of us are afraid they'll respond with violence, but they have always responded with violence. The very first thing they always go to is violence. Right after the 13th Amendment was passed and the Civil War was over, the very first thing they did was become violent. Now that we aren't working for them for free, even though cheaper than everybody else, but the fact that we aren't considered their property made them resort to flat out violence. You have things like what happened at the Devil's Punch Bowl. They love to say the Union fought to free the slaves, but in reality, they were just as bad as the Confederate. The Union Army were the ones responsible for what happened at the Devil's Punch Bowl in Mississippi. They lied and said they would help black people get north and find jobs so they can build their lives. And over 100,000 black people went there thinking they were going to get help. But when they got there, they started forcing these black people into swampy, uninhabitable areas, and then they built concrete walls and locked them inside. The Devil's Punch Bowl was the first concentration camp in the 1860s, and these camps were designed to genocide black people. They separated the black men and forced them into hard labor, and if they resisted, they hung them or either shot them. Then they left the women and children in the camps to starve to death. The conditions were so bad you could hear them screaming for help far away. And it was so nasty, diseases was spreading everywhere. It got to a point they were begging to go back to slavery just to be let out, because they couldn't even take being in there no more. So many people were dying, and the Union soldiers wouldn't even remove the bodies. They would just leave them where they dropped. In just 1 year, over 2,000 people died. And to this day, bodies are still being found. And when it rains real hard, sometimes the body comes up into the lake and somebody finds it. But so many people through the years have been killed in that area, they can't even tell what era the body is from. And they never lost this mentality. In the 90s, a brother, James Byrd Jr., he was brutally murdered for no reason.
On a spring night 21 years ago, James Byrd Jr. was looking for a ride back to his Jasper, Texas home. The men who offered it to him viciously murdered Byrd in a crime that shocked the nation. Byrd's sister, LuVon Harris, says those 24 hours threw the family into a state of disbelief.
That's a moment where you have to repeat yourself and say, is this really happening? Because we just left him that day before at my niece's bridal shower. And as a family, we're a normal family, and then all of a sudden, the only problem he had that day was, am I going to be the only male at this bridal shower? And we laughed about it. I said, oh, of course he was, but that's how life does.
On June 7th, 1998, 3 white supremacists severely beat Byrd, even defecated on him, before they chained his ankles to the back of a truck and dragged him for 3 miles. A pathologist testified Byrd was alive for much of it, dying about halfway through after being decapitated and having his right arm ripped off.
It was a case that became known for its brutality. A black man dragged to death, chained to the back.
He dealt with pain, he was shocked, and he was numb. He became very angry. Who gave them the right to say my brother's not worth living because he was born black, something he had no control over, and say, okay, you don't deserve to live because of that?
At the time, Sheriff Billy Rolls saw the horrific crime scene.
Well, it made me sick at my stomach. It was the remains of a human being that had been dismembered, and it was very sickening.
Sheriff Rolls says a witness saw a dark-colored pickup truck with loud mufflers barreling down the street. He spotted 3 white men inside and Byrd in the back. They dumped his body in front of an African-American cemetery. Word started to get around town, and Rolls said that witnesses led them straight to Shawn Berry, Lawerence Russell Brewer, and John William King. They were all tried and convicted of Byrd's brutal murder.
Testimony showed Byrd was offered a ride, then bound by his ankles with a heavy logging chain attached to a bumper.
Back then, Byrd's son Ross spoke up against the death penalty, expressing that the punishment for his father's murder shouldn't be more murder. Yet, Brewer was sentenced to the death penalty.
Alleged white supremacist Lawerence Russell Brewer has been executed for his role in the murder of James Byrd Jr., dying by lethal injection.
Levon went to his execution in 2011 and said Brewer showed no remorse.
I never been to execution before. I never thought I'd be in that situation before. Of course, I never thought I'd be a victim family of a hate crime either. And so it was pretty eerie because to watch someone die, but it was also eye-opener just to say, you know, how far hate would go. Would it take it to the grave, or would you find remorse and say, my last breath on earth would be something positive?
Berry received a life sentence. After appeals, King was also sentenced to death by lethal injection. It is scheduled for April 24th, 2019.
I'm going to be there. I'm not going to watch it. I've seen too many people die in my life. But I am going to be sitting outside on the grounds when it happens.
Levon will be there too.
We still want to bring peace, we want to bring James back, but it's justice was served, because if in history you find out that very seldom you have two white men go to death for killing one black man. And so you have history there.
Byrd's family marked the 20th anniversary of his death last year.
Everybody now knows what a hate crime is. Back when this happened, it was a racially motivated murder, a civil rights violation. The man was murdered because of his race. But the phrase hate crime came out of this.
Sheriff Rolls says the incident tarnished the image of the small Texas town, a wound that is still trying to heal. Still, Byrd's family found a ray of light, starting the Byrd Foundation for Racial Healing. Its goal? To encourage racial unity through education and reduce the number of racially motivated crimes. But for the case that has haunted Sheriff Rolls, the town, and nation for 2 decades, closure can't come fast enough.
I'll be glad that it's over. That'll be the final act of this case. It'll be over with. When John William King is laid to rest, it's over.
But James Byrd's memory and legacy will live on.
James was a fun, loving person. He loved people. He loved music. And he also teased the family that I can see, I'm going to put Jasper on the map. I'm going to put Jasper on the map and everything. And I keep hearing those words in his mind. Put Jasper on the map. He thought through his music and through his playing, never he thought he was a Jr. would be because of his death.
Now, this brother James Byrd Jr. was just walking home, minding his own business, when 3 white dudes, Shawn Berry, Lawerence Brewer, and John King, stopped and offered him a ride home. And this brother made the fatal mistake of thinking it was okay and accepting the ride home. Instead of taking his brother home, they took this brother down a dirt road into the woods, and then they ended up attacking his brother James Byrd. After they jumped him, the white boy Lawerence Brewer spray painted his face with black paint, and then they started to urinate and defecate on him. And then they chained his brother James Byrd's ankle to the back of a pickup truck, and then drugged this man for 3 miles. They turned off of the dirt road onto the pavement, and this brother was still alive most of the time he was being drugged. Evidence showed he was trying to protect his head as he was being drugged, but he ended up hitting a ragged edge of the pavement, and it ended up severing his head, his neck, and his arm. And then those 3 white boys took his decapitated body and left it at a cemetery at a black church for black people to find the next day as they were going to church. The police ended up finding parts of his body scattered in 81 different places. Now, these were some of the first and few white men to be put to death over killing a black man. But that same mentality hasn't gone anywhere and is passed down from generation to generation. In Flint, Michigan, a 5-year-old black boy, Jeremiah Caldwell, was set on fire by a 9-year-old little white boy.
He's not breathing on his own. They got him on a whole bunch of machines, and he gotta have a scan graft Friday. He burned out on his own.
Hard to hear that from that mother. Police say a 5-year-old Flint boy is in critical condition after being badly burned. That's that little boy there. We spoke, as you heard from her just now, that boy's mother. She says another boy who lives in their neighborhood set her son on fire.
But police aren't confirming that information at this time. NBC 25's Joel Fike joined us from Arlington Avenue with what he is learning this evening. Joel? Dave, police are only saying that the boy was critically burned. Beyond that, they're not saying too much about this case. But the mother of this little boy is saying that he was set on fire. Alicia Moss says her youngest son, 5-year-old Jeremiah Caldwell, is in the Hurley Medical Center burn unit right now, suffering from third-degree burns. He was playing outside when he was burned yesterday. According to Moss, Jeremiah, who's in preschool, was playing in front of the next-door neighbor's house with a 9-year-old boy when the incident happened. She feels the other little boy should be held responsible for what she claims he did to her son.
I was at church, and my 15-year-old came in and said, "Mom, Jeremiah on fire at home." I said, "What?" He said, "Jeremiah on fire at home." I flew around here, and Jeremiah was still there on the sidewalk, and he was burned real bad with a towel over him. When he got to the hospital, I asked him. He said he lit the fire and threw it on him.
My thoughts would first go out to the family and the child, and my prayers go out to him and to the other little boy, which, you know, is obviously a victim of the streets over here.
Jeremiah will need to have skin grafts due to the severity of his injuries.
Now, even though there's not a lot of mainstream media coverage of this case, and the police don't have a lot to say about this case, and they are protecting this 9-year-old white boy, not putting any information out about him, but this 9-year-old white boy who lives in the same neighborhood set this 5-year-old kid, Jeremiah Caldwell, on fire for no apparent reason. And now this 5-year-old Jeremiah Caldwell is in the hospital. He can't breathe on his own, and he had to get a skin graft because he was completely burned all over. But not only are they protecting this white kid, not releasing his name, they never mentioned anything about charges. They didn't say anything about a punishment anywhere. Even one neighbor they interviewed called this white boy a victim. He said he was a victim of the streets. And it's not just our kids they do this with. They also attack our elders. Like that 21-year-old white girl, Hannah Payne. She ended up shooting and killing a 62-year-old man, Kenneth Herring.
There's a young lady. She's locked up after allegedly tracking down a hit-and-run suspect and then killing him. Clayton County police say she is now facing murder charges. Investigators tell 11 Alive she could have easily avoided jail time. Clayton County police charged 21-year-old Hannah Payne with murder. Officers say it all started when she witnessed a crime in progress.
The witness to the hit and run.
Officers say a hit-and-run crash took place. They say 62-year-old Kenneth Herring slammed into an unknown victim's car and kept going. What about damage or injuries?
Not extensive damage on the vehicles.
No one was hurt. Officers say Payne saw Herring take off from the crime scene, so she followed him in her vehicle.
Was trying to intercede since the subject left the scene.
She was allegedly hot on Herring's tail and caught up with him about a mile away. And investigators say she cut in front of his vehicle, forcing him to stop. Law enforcement experts say if you see a crime in progress and no one's life is in danger, be a really good witness. Make sure you call 911, give your location and a description of the vehicles or people involved. Then after that, let the professionals handle the rest. So in this case, should a Payne stayed in the car?
Correct. We recommend that people stay in the car.
Payne allegedly became more than just a witness.
An altercation then ensued between the two of them, and during the altercation, Mr. Herring was shot and killed.
Officers say it should not have ended this way.
Based on the facts and circumstances that come out during the investigation, they warranted the murder charge against her.
Well, tonight Payne's lawyer is calling this self-defense. However, she's going to have to explain that to a judge soon.
Police just released new information about a 21-year-old woman accused of shooting and killing another driver in the middle of a busy intersection. Tonight, she faces murder charges. Good evening to you. I'm Sine Simpson.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tom Haynes. The shooting happened at the intersection of Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway in Clayton County. Investigators say the woman shot and killed another driver, but her lawyer claims it was self-defense.
Well, Fox 5's Denise Dillon just spoke with police. She joins us now live. And Denise, did the two know each other?
Yeah, police don't think they knew each other at all. And police are also saying that they don't think this is a case of road rage. They think it all started with a hit and run that involved a whole different party. Now, police say yesterday around 4:30 in the afternoon, there was a minor hit and run, and they believe that 62-year-old Kenneth Herring was part of that hit and run. They tell me that Hannah Payne, the 21-year-old woman who is charged in this case, witnessed that hit and run, followed Herring as he took off about a mile away. She got to this intersection, she cut him off and got out of her car with a gun.
An altercation then ensued between the two of them, and during the altercation, Mr. Herring was shot and killed.
Hannah appeared in court this morning. Her attorney talked to us after she was in court and told us that it didn't end up that way. He tells us that after Herring got caught off by Payne, she confronted him, and then there was a struggle. She says that Herring tried to pull Payne into his car. She had her gun with her, and at some point that gun went off.
Now this white girl, Hannah Payne, trying to be the next white girl George Zimmerman, she called herself a good Samaritan after she called 911 like George Zimmerman, and they told her to not follow this person or not approach this person. Let the police handle it. Just like Zimmerman, she ignored it and decided to approach him. This white girl, Hannah Payne, was speeding through traffic trying to catch this brother, then drove in front of him and cut him off in the middle of traffic. Now keep in mind, she wasn't involved in the situation at all, and nobody got hurt. There was no damage at all. But this white girl got out of her car with her gun, then goes into this brother Kenneth Herring car, starts punching him, trying to pull him out of the car in the middle of traffic where everybody can see. And then this white girl said the gun went off. Not that she pulled the trigger, but that it went off. At first she tried to say this man Kenneth Herring was the one who pulled the trigger, implying that he shot himself. But now she's saying the gun just went off during the struggle. And now she's claiming self-defense even though she is the one who started it in the first place. And she didn't even have no business being there. And even though they did charge her, they're still trying to protect her a little bit. They charged her with murder without malicious intent, as if she didn't get out of her car with a gun, trying to pull somebody else out of their car. She even tried to say this brother pulled her into his car. But what is she doing by his car door in the first place? And then after she shot this brother, she immediately went back to change her clothes. Almost like she knew she was going to shoot somebody that day. And now some of her family and friends are claiming this has nothing to do with race because she has black friends. One email says she's romantically attracted to black men, so there's no way she could be racist. But she still felt the need to chase this black man down for a traffic accident where no one was hurt and there wasn't even any damage, and then murder this man. And then probably use the same defense that got George Zimmerman off. And we'll see what happens with this case. But at some point, we're going to have to start taking justice into our own hands. We're going to have to start holding them accountable ourselves. We're going to have to build institutions so that we can give ourselves justice. Because at the end of the day, we are all we got. And if we don't put our tribal differences to the side, then the same thing is going to continue to happen over and over.
On the facts and circumstances that come out during the investigation, they warranted the murder charge.
She was in fear of her life. She felt that she needed to pull that gun to defend herself.
Well, police call it murder, but the woman charged in the crime calls it self-defense.
Well, tonight, 21-year-old Hannah Payne is behind bars. Clayton County detectives say she crossed the line when she confronted a hit-and-run driver with her gun, and he ended up dead.
Fox 5's Jacqueline Schultz joins us live from Clayton County. Jacqueline, Payne's attorney is disputing the police version of events.
Yeah, she's describing, as she's being described tonight, as a woman who needed to defend herself from a violent man during the encounter. But police tonight are saying in the press conference that she was the aggressor here and why she ultimately was responsible for the shooting death of a 62-year-old man.
Hannah Payne, charged with murder without malice.
21-year-old Hannah Payne seemed to have tears in her eyes as she appeared in court for a charge of murder. Clayton investigators say Payne went too far when she drove after a car involved in a hit and run and confronted the getaway driver. 62-year-old Kenneth Herring shot dead.
Based on the facts and circumstances that have come out during the investigation, they warranted the murder charge. The information I've received is that she was trying to get him to return to the scene.
Tuesday evening, Clayton police explained why Payne should be behind bars. Detectives say Payne witnessed a hit and run near Clark Howell Highway and Highway 85 when the 62-year-old hit a car and fled. They say Payne, a stranger, did call 911 and followed Herring for a mile to the corner of Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway, where she allegedly used her Jeep to block him in. Investigators say she got out of her car, had her gun, and confronted him. And during an argument and a struggle, her gun was discharged and Herring was shot and killed.
It just seems like it's an unfortunate situation of a good Samaritan trying to stop a person on a hit and run. She was in fear of her life. She felt that she needed to pull that gun to defend herself.
Defense counsel Matt Tucker disputes the police version of events and argues that Herring turned violent during the encounter. Clayton investigators say they're still investigating her version.
It's my contention that it was a struggle that ensued, and that's his part of pulling her into the vehicle and grabbing on her and making comments to her. She had a ripped shirt, she had scratch marks on her, she had a mark on her face. There should be handprints of his and hers on the gun.
Get out of the car now!
Why am I being apprehended? You trying to give me a ticket for the failure?
Get out of the car.
Why am I being apprehended? You just opened my car door. You just opened my car door. So you threatening to drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car!
And then you gonna stun me?
I will light you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the car!
Really, for a failure to signal. You doing all of this for a failure to signal?
Get over there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let's take this to court. Let's do it.
Go ahead.
For a failure to signal. Yep, for a failure to signal.
Get off the phone.
On my school.
Get off the phone.
I'm not on the phone. I have a right to record. This is my property. This is my property. Sir?
Put your phone down right now.
Protests gathered at the Texas state capitol following newly revealed video showing the controversial traffic stop of Sandra Bland. The 39-second cell phone footage recorded by Bland shows the moments before her arrest in 2015. She was found dead 3 days later, hanging in her jail cell. Her family is calling for a new investigation. Maria Villarreal is in Dallas. Maria, good morning.
Well, good morning. Sandra Bland's family says until recently they had never seen this cell phone video. Now, her arrest actually added fuel to an already heated conversation about how minorities are treated by police. Right now, you're going to get a first-hand look of how this arrest went down from Sandra Bland's eyes.
Well, you can step on out now.
I don't have to step out of my car.
Step out of the car.
As Texas Trooper Brian Encenia demanded Sandra Bland step out of her car, she grabbed her cell phone and began recording.
So you threatening to drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car.
And then you
I
gonna
will
stun
light
me?
you up.
The arrest was captured on dash cam video, but the cell phone video has not been publicly seen until now. Encenia pulled over Bland in 2015 for a failure to signal a lane change. The encounter quickly escalated. The 28-year-old was arrested and booked in the Waller County Jail. 3 days later, she was found dead in her cell. Her death was ruled a suicide.
Get out of the car now.
Why am I being apprehended?
The video was obtained by the nonprofit news organization, The Investigative Network. Bland's family says it's proof she should have never been detained. Encenia said he feared for his life.
This video clearly shows from Sandy's vantage point that she was doing nothing more than asking questions.
Cannon Lambert is the family's attorney and helped them settle with Waller County and the state for nearly $2 million. He says prosecutors never gave him the video.
If they had it and they walked away from prosecuting, it is very difficult to understand.
Get over there.
Encenia was fired after he was indicted for lying about the traffic stop, but the perjury charge was later dropped when he agreed to never work in law enforcement again. Chip Lewis represented him.
The tragedy that was this young lady's death should have never happened. It was not Trooper Encenia's fault that it happened.
The Texas Department of Public Safety says this video is not new and they did not conceal it. Also right now, Democratic presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke, who is from Texas, as well as other state legislators, are asking that Bland's arrest and the case be reopened right now.
So Mia's car is getting impounded because she didn't pay $14 for her registration, but the registration is paid for and she has insurance. So this is the result of it. 4 people being detained. So he says, for what? I don't know, but okay. So now you manhandling my daughter and you shouldn't be touching her. You're manhandling my daughter and you shouldn't be touching her. Really? Oh,
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
Back up now.
Get him off my daughter. Get him
will.
off my
I will.
daughter now.
Don't talk to me like that,
Get him off my daughter.
Rio Vista Police Department's under the microscope this evening after this video surfaced showing one officer body slamming a woman to the ground during a traffic stop. Reporter Rachel Wolf tells us the family involved wants answers.
No. This body slam at the hands of Rio Vista police was captured on camera during a traffic stop the evening of May 5th. Hannah Payne heard her children had been pulled over on the way to the store a couple blocks from home and arrived with her daughter Cherish to ask the officer why.
A lot of questions that he didn't like and didn't want to answer, and he was just very aggressive.
She was told her other daughter, Mia, was pulled over for tags that expired 2 years ago, but she wanted to know why all four were being detained, and both continued to roll.
He addressed her and told her to put her phone up, and she said she had the right to record, and he hit, okay, and hit her phone out. So now you manhandling my daughter.
The officer takes her daughter down and she lunges towards them.
It made me go into mom protective mode.
Her son-in-law was recording from the back of the police car as the officer's partner then turned to her.
Mom! Mom! Mom!
We showed the video to former Sacramento County Sheriff John McGinnis.
The critical and fundamental question is, what was the basis upon which that decision was made? Was it proper? Was it reasonable?
He says all video, including body camera footage, must be reviewed to put the officer's actions into context. Rio Vista police sent a statement saying Deshana and her daughter were obstructing an investigation. Deshana says with 6 kids and 3 stepkids, she'd had run-ins with Rio Vista police before, but nothing like this.
You have these officers that are abusing authority, whether it's to just writing a simple traffic ticket to excessive force, and it makes no sense. It's unnecessary.
Rachel Wolf reporting. Now, Rio Vista police also responded saying the officer tackled the woman to the ground in order to gain control after she repeatedly tried to push past him. Authorities say body camera footage from both officers will be released in the coming days.
Thank you for recording because he can't. You cannot come in my home. I did not give him permission.
You did not. He was.
Thank you. Talking about it's an altercation.
There was no altercation.
I don't give a damn what you heard. I don't give a damn what you heard. You understand what I'm saying? No, because this is my home and this is my property, and I'm telling you to leave my home. That's what I'm telling you. There was no disturbance here.
There wasn't.
That you heard something, but this. No, he didn't. He heard us talking loud because I'm a loud ass bitch. That's why. That's why. I asked you to leave my home now. Excuse me. Thank you.
Sorry, there's not a problem going on. I don't see why you
First of all,
step
you
in.
can't just walk in my
I
home.
mean? I understand what you say. You got
I know my law.
basically, but
Kevin, this man is not. He's nobody.
He is talking
I don't
as a
give a
responsible adult.
I'm talking as the person who runs this house. That's what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck about what you talk about. Shut the fuck up. Now. You shut up. I don't care what he's talking about. This is my house. I pay these bills. You crazy? I your head coming up in my house? You must be crazy coming up in here. Talking about you heard something. You heard me talking. I talk loud and I'm aggressive. And guess what? You did not knock on my door. There's no weapons here. There's nothing going on here. And you are violating my rights, sweetheart. Right. Now, tell me that I'm fucking wrong. You can't, because I'm not wrong. You're violating my rights. You do not come up. Shut up! Shut your mouth! You do not come up in my house. You do not come in my home without my permission. Period.
When I get called,
I don't care what you got.
Hey, I don't care.
I don't care what you got. Because guess what? If I had just came in the house and smoking a cigarette, this door would have been closed and your ass would have had to knock. You do not fucking come in my house without my permission. With your white ass, and I'm black, and I'm scared of you. So guess I don't care.
Right.
I don't want to hear it.
I
don't want to hear it.
That's why you're screaming.
I'm screaming because
you're so afraid of me.
I'm screaming because you're in my space. This is my home. This is where my kids live. How I know you wasn't coming up in here with a fucking gun? Black people killer? How do I know that? I don't. So guess what? I'm aggressive. I'm being hostile, like you guys call us, because you done came up in my home. Go get my lease from downstairs now. Like I don't know my rights. Stop playing. You got the wrong black girl on the right day, baby. What do you want?
What do you want?
There's no problem.
What did I say?
There's no problem.
I got this. I got this one.
No,
What do you have? What do you want?
You guys could just walk out because there's no problem.
What do you want?
That man is the intelligent one in this house.
What do you want? Guess what? You about to walk out my home though, because I know my rights.
Yeah,
Bye.
No,
Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Shut your ass up, Kevin. Do what I told you to do. Goodbye. I know my rights. They cannot walk in my home. Because if this door was closed, they would have had to knock. Don't ever do that again. Thank you. I don't give a fuck. I know my rights. You guys are beating him up! You guys are beating him up! Why are you beating him up? Why are you beating him up?
I know you are.
Calm down, Clarence.
No,
Sir.
He don't even know my name and tell him I have a warrant.
What did he do?
That's what I'm saying.
For what?
For what? I'm from Louisiana. For what?
For what?
Yeah. I don't even live in Louisiana, so how would I have a... You don't know my name, so how can you tell me I have an open warrant in Louisiana?
Sir,
stop.
Clarence, hold on.
Okay, well, you
Go get your phone. Go get your phone.
You don't even know me. I already got you. No, you don't even know me. You don't even know my name. I'm under control. Why would I trust you?
Hello. I'm confused. He don't even live in Louisiana.
No. You don't. How can you tell me I have something and you don't know my name? You just pulled up in front of my house and then. I don't trust. Cause you shaking like you scared or something. You're pulling.
Okay.
I trust you. You shaking like you scared.
He don't live in Louisiana.
I don't even live in Louisiana. How the hell would I have a warrant in Louisiana? Quentin, you already said your name was that. My name is not Quentin. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Sir, his name is not Quentin.
Fucking Quentin. Then let's see the ID and we'll be done.
Okay, hold on.
You told me 3 different names. You walked up here and told me 3 different names.
Hold on.
That's the 3rd name you just... No.
Clear.
Fuck that. No, I'm not gonna be the next nigga you kill.
No.
No.
His name is not Quentin.
Fucking Quentin.
Let's do this and be done. I got enough probable cause. I got
You just stopped in front of my fucking house.
Yes, I know who you are.
You know, what's my name? Man, fuck that. You shaking like you scared. I'm not gonna let you put me in handcuffs.
Please stop. Please stop.
My name is not no fucking Quentin. You don't even know my name and tell me I got a warrant in Louisiana?
Okay. Yes. You
Do I look like a...
You want me to
show me the picture?
Okay.
Show me the picture.
Okay, wait.
Just walk with me.
No,
walk with me.
No.
Please, he's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere.
Fuck that. I need your supervisor or somebody
I am the
else.
supervisor. Come on.
Well, let me see your stripes. Well, I need somebody else to
front of the car.
No, you're not going to get me to your car. No.
Sir.
Fuck that. You in my yard on my property. Fuck that.
Calm down. Just calm
You
down.
stop. You stop.
Who are you looking for?
That's what
His
I'm saying.
name is not
Quentin.
Let me see your
You
ID.
think I'm from because I got dreads or something?
No.
You just pulled up in front of my fucking house and told me I got a warrant in Louisiana. So what? That's my fucking dog.
That's our dog. That's our dog. Go in the house.
Look, man.
Sir, that's our
I don't
dog.
want you touching me while you shaking. You need to step back and calm down. No, fuck that.
Sir, his name is not Quentin. That's our dog.
You just told me 3 different names. You pulled up on some bullshit talking about I got a stolen dog. My dog is chipped.
That's
I got
our,
a chip in
yes,
my dog.
We have
since he
papers.
was born.
Okay. Let me see the ID.
And then you talking about some shit in Louisiana. Then you say my name is Quentin. My name is not no fucking Quentin. I'm not telling you my name, but it's not Quentin. I'm not telling you my last
I'm gonna have
name.
the units come here and put your hands behind your back then, okay?
No, fuck that
Sir,
shit.
what did he do
This is
anything?
the shit I'm talking about. I have a fucking dog that's mine.
That's our dog. We can go get you the
You just
papers.
seen me walk out my house and then just came and put in front of my yard.
Oh my God. Sir, who are you looking for?
Because you shaking like
Get my phone out of the car.
There you got him running.
Get my phone out of the
Calm
car.
down.
Man, fuck this.
Let me show you this.
Please calm down.
See?
Who are you looking for?
Fucking me?
Yes, I want to. I want to do this so we're done and over with. Okay? Okay?
Okay, well, you shaking and you
No, but you're pulling on me, so just, okay. Right here, we're good. Okay. Here's the deal. Doesn't that look a lot like you?
No, that don't look like
That's
me.
not
What the
him.
fuck is wrong with you, man?
Calm down.
What you trying to say? Because I got dreads and I'm black, that's me?
No.
That's not
Oh,
him.
you fucking, she can see that's not me from
Oh
over
my
there.
God.
Head. Let me see your ID. Stop. We got no problem.
My name, you ain't got no fucking shit. You ain't, man, fuck
No,
that shit.
please
Look,
stop.
Two of y'all, it's gonna take more than
Please stop. Please leave him alone, please.
Look.
No, please, that is not him.
fuck,
man? I need to do a report on this. I need to do a report.
Nah, you need to get the fuck out of my yard. You just said I'm somebody named Quentin. You got dreads and he black.
Come on.
What the fuck is that shit?
Okay, come on.
Nah, fuck that.
Okay.
Now you want to leave, right?
No, I want to do a report on this.
No, you need to get somebody here that's over you because you just made the biggest fucking mistake.
Why?
How the fuck you pull in front of my yard because I'm black with dreads and tell me I got a warrant?
Okay.
You
No, he just
racist.
said
How the fuck?
our kids was out here.
No, my fucking kids.
Okay. Oh my God.
Well, you need to get the sergeant that's over here.
He's looking. He's
Man.
my sergeant.
Oh my God.
The picture didn't look like.
But that he didn't even ask for his name.
Don't leave now. Now stay here. Let me see that picture.
Okay, gear down for this one. We're going to show you some video that is really disturbing, distressful. Police in Hammond, Indiana, smashing a car window and using a taser on the front seat passenger. All of this just starting out from a routine traffic stop over a seatbelt. What may be a little different from some other things you may have seen. 2 kids were in the back seat when all of this happened, and you can hear as this unfolds how traumatized they were. Have a look.
Yes, my mom. No, I'm not making it worse now. I'm scared for my life. Because he just pulled a gun on us and we don't have a gun.
Just so you know, we got
Go ahead.
recording here. You're on a body mic.
Go ahead.
I suggest you come out the car.
Go ahead.
You a white shirt?
What's that?
A white shirt. I'm asking for a white shirt. I don't know what's going on. I just gave him my information. I don't know what's going on now.
Right. That's what I'm.
It's who?
Listen. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I never got out of the
because
vehicle
he
from
said
being in the
I rolled
passenger
window
side.
down.
You know what
He
I'm
asked
saying?
for my license and insurance. I gave it to him. Okay. Now he asked the man.
Y'all got white shirts here?
That's sitting beside me. He asked
Y'all
for
got
his
somebody in
ID.
charge of
He
y'all.
said he didn't have any ID.
Well, I just gave him my information.
So they asked him, and I said,
I just gave both of them my information. Y'all got my information, right?
I don't have my license. I mean, if you're gonna give me a ticket for no seatbelt. If you're gonna give me a ticket for no seatbelt, right here, then just give me a ticket so I can go to the hospital because the doctor called me to tell me to come in because my mom is about to pass away. All right, so I guess he's looking for his information in his book bag. When he digs in his book bag, they pulls a gun out. What was the purpose of a gun? And now they asking me to open my door so I can get out. I'm scared. If you can pull out a gun in front of it's 2 kids in the back seat. Do
you understand?
Yes.
All right.
No, don't mess now they about to mess no!
I'm not the operator of this vehicle. So if you do that, all right. I'm not the operation of this vehicle.
Are you gonna open the door?
Why do you say somebody's not gonna hurt you? People are getting shot by the police.
Oh! Damn!
That was crazy. That is horrible. This is a horrible situation. This is wait. This are you recording this?
Yeah.
This is terrible. This is crazy.
Take it off, man.
Oh no,
I told y'all my kids in the car, man. Why would y'all do that?
Angie, come on.
Talk about what, man?
Come on, climb. These police is crazy. They done bust out the car window and everything because they couldn't have a seatbelt on.
And now to video you saw exclusively First on 10. Chaos on campus. A student appearing to kick an officer in the head, and police say it all stemmed from a fight. The all-out brawl breaking out between 5 girls at Homestead High.
Now, 2 of them are facing criminal charges. Local 10 News reporter Christian De La Rosa is live in Miami with what one of the girls' mothers is saying. Christian.
Well, she's telling us that she is livid. As you said, there were 5 girls involved in all of this, but only 2
are facing criminal charges. One of them, this woman's daughter. The second one, take a look at her mugshot. This is 18-year-old Sharday Pittman. She is at TGK in jail tonight facing charges for battery on a law enforcement officer after being seen on cell phone video kicking a school officer's face. A student kicking a school officer in the face. This disturbing scene, part of a larger school brawl. A girl fight, throwing punches and pulling hair. School police officers stepping in to break this lunch hour melee at Homestead Senior High Thursday.
Well, the girl came up and hit my daughter in the face.
Sherelle Lee telling Local 10 News, it all started when her daughter, seen pinned down by the school officer, was jumped by two other girls. She claims a student seen trying to push the officer off of her daughter was trying to defend her before the kick. 5 girls total got in trouble. School officials responding tonight, saying in part, any behavior that endangers the well-being of students and staff at Miami-Dade County Public Schools will not be tolerated, will be handled swiftly, and result in severe consequences. And where that behavior involves battery on a police officer, as it did today, offenders will be arrested and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Students will also be disciplined according to the Code of Student Conduct, up to and including expulsion.
Grinnell will serve a total of 60 days behind bars. That decision was made by a judge this morning after hearing from the victim's mother and from Grinnell himself, who said that he's ready to answer for what he did. Fear for his son's safety. This is the explanation Jordan Grinnell gave to a Virginia Beach judge in response to why he punched a teenage boy in the face. The assault happened in June while Grinnell's son and Timothy Vickery faced off at an oceanfront sand soccer tournament. The boys were on opposing teams and both went for the ball during a play. Witnesses say the boys got aggressive with each other, which is when Grinnell stepped in, throwing Vickery to the ground and punching him between 2 and 4 times in the face while he laid on his back in the sand. Grinnell was arrested and Vickery treated for his injuries. In court today, his mother took the stand saying her son hasn't been the same since the attack. He still has a scar on his face where he was punched and is now unable to play soccer, a sport he loves, without fear. Grinnell apologized to Vickery and his family for the assault and told the judge he was ready to answer for what he did. The judge says she took Grinnell's prestigious Navy record into account while deciding on his sentence. But since this was an attack on a child and should have been handled differently, she ultimately decided to sentence him to 60 days in jail. Vickery's family did not want to talk after today's proceeding. During a previous interview, they had this to say about Grinnell's actions.
When I got to my son, he was bloody. His eye was swollen. His right eye was completely swollen. And he was just kind of in a daze. At the end of the day, my son is 14 years old. He's an 8th grader. He doesn't get hit by us, let alone some stranger.
Grinnell is allowed to serve his sentence over the weekends. He will first report to Virginia Beach City Jail on October 19th.
The Gwinnett man will not go to prison despite holding a teenage girl hostage in his home for more than a year. Police arrested Michael Wieselowski in 2017 after a 17-year-old North Carolina girl was found in his Duluth home. The girl's father says she was being held captive and he controlled every aspect of her life, including how many calories she ate. The man is now charged with cruelty to a child and false imprisonment, but he pleaded out on first-degree cruelty to children. He got credit for jail time that he had already served.
With an investigation, all right?
We're not interfering.
Because
I'm walking on the sidewalk, bro.
You worried about something? No, you worried about something that ain't got nothing to do with you.
I think it's hilarious.
All right?
You guys are wasting all these resources on pulling over somebody that ran a stop sign.
Get you some business, bro.
I got business.
Yeah, nah, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Obviously, you don't.
What is happening? Are you guys trying to say we got
like I said,
4 officers over here? Don't you got better shit to do on New Year's Eve, bro?
Hey,
this is ridiculous.
When you get through.
Through with what?
Keep walking.
Watching my fucking public officers wasting time, bitching me out. I'm gonna stand here and talk however I want because this is fucking America. I'm not on the show. Oh, are you kidding me? All right, hold on. I'm gonna stand here. Hey, you back up off of me, bitch. You think? Hey,
Hey, back up.
I'm not doing anything.
Back up.
I'm not going anywhere.
Back up.
I'm not going
Just
anywhere,
back up.
Mr. Evans.
Yeah, just back up. Just back up.
Hey!
Just back up.
Yeah, you are. What the fuck?
Back up.
This is my brother, dude. I'm
Hey, right here. Just back up.
Exactly. What's going on?
Back up. Back
This
up.
is my brother.
Back up.
For what, you motherfucker?
I'm just asking you to back up.
Fuck off of me. I have a right to film.
You got a right to film, but back up.
I'm filming him, so I'm here. I'm backed up as far as you push me. This is unopened, by the way. This is. I've already answered that question several times. Why do you have his knee on his head? They're detained. Well, he's being arrested right now. Why? Why is he being arrested? For what? I'm not interfering with anything. You're going to be interfering.
Hey. I asked you to stay right here.
I'm
Stay right here.
Yeah, I smell alcohol in your breath. Yes, because I've had a drink. It's called public intox. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
What? Yeah.
She crashed into a truck and she just tried to flee the scene and crashed into my wife and kids. Don't treat her like don't treat her comfortably. Treat her like you do anybody now. Treat her like you do anybody now. Treat her like you'll treat anybody. There we go. There we go. Just treat her like you'll treat anybody. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Calm down, babe. That's all I ask. I don't know what you under the influence of. No, don't hate. Yeah, wrestle. Hey, punch in that shit, wrestle. There we go. Wrestle. You gonna wrestle some more? Okay. Wrestle some more. Wrestle some more. Take her to jail. Period. Wrap up some more. And we need paramedics. My kids are hurt, sir. My little girl can't even feel her shoulder over here.
What are you doing? I got 115. Okay. Can you help? Help me.
That's the first thing he gonna do too.
But why he?
She hit the truck back here.
Where she was?
Hot sunny morning in 98, the 7th of June in Jasper, Texas. After breakfast, people walked to work or to church to hear the pastor's message. On a road called Huff Creek, found it tough to speak because what they saw left them gasping and breathless. The broken body of Byrd. And sure, you probably heard the story. It's rather gory, and if you follow the words, you can somewhat get a picture. But can you really picture being chained up into a pickup truck and drugged until the street ripped your arm off and decapitate you? And the ones who perpetrated this act for the simple fact that you were black, they had to hate you, mad at nature, because she made you beautiful. And that's irrefutable, like the fact that crack, street pharmaceuticals is genocide to blacks. And although this attack on Byrd left the whole world disturbed, a few years back, it was common and not unusual for other brothers to get done like that. And the irony of it all, y'all, was Byrd was often heard saying that he would put Jasper, Texas on the map. But Jasper, Texas put him on the map, figuratively and literally. Despite the insanity of this calamity, his family refused to respond bitterly. And considering the circumstances, what riddles me is, we rallied to save the killers, but who rallied to save Byrd?